was actually very much related, but just to look at it in a different way. I'm currently now with an investment agency, and the way we look at the MFI's impact and the development impact is what we look at is whatever that was claimed in the industry is out there, but we want to know exactly what this MFI is resulting in terms of development impact, whether you are actually making the difference or not, because USAID AIM studies have produced nice results, but they are relevant in whatever context these MFIs have worked on. So my question is, what systems do you have in your MFIs that allow you to monitor and measure and report your development impact? And how does that align with the requirements of the investors in terms of reporting your development impact? Yeah.
Can you throw in a gender component to that question too? Because I think it's
gender.
Very relevant. So, gender. How do you measure the gender component along with the rest?
Go ahead.
The most easy gender component is how percentage are women within your portfolio, and even the amount given to them. It's actually fact that is.
Sorry, I don't want to take Gama's question, but it's really all the same thing. Do you have targets? Do you have goals? Do you review whether you've hit those goals? I mean, I heard Vikram say you've got 100% of clients. That just doesn't happen by chance. So anyway, Gama's question, but incorporate the gender aspect, please.
Yes, actually, we have targets for each program, and we have our target is not to go below the 60% women within our portfolio to support this woman to get more. For the impact tracking, we have a lot of things to trace. You can start by the sales, the net worth, the lifestyle, electricity, water, education, children, number of staff operating with. You can add a lot. We track employment rate, how many staff added since they started, and and tracking even that we are not just increasing the loan to cover a gap. No, we are increasing the loan to expand business. So you have a lot. I think it's almost right now 137 things that we follow, and to check actually are we improving their lifestyle or not. Despite that, we have at least 3 times studies, surveys during the year that we do, mainly during summer with students from outside that they come and do some studies about our gender. We have as well our graduation process. We try to move our clients from the informal sector to the formal sector. And despite that, we have, especially in the individual program, we have almost 80% of our clients below 5,000 pounds, which is less than our graduation process. We have almost 38% of our individual lending are formal. So they are more than the people who are getting. So it's actually educating the people that at step you have to do so and so and so. So they start doing now, getting into the formal sector before even reaching the amount. So a lot of things that we touch, we follow to get what we do.
Well, I just wanted to add something quickly. I'm actually one of these people that I think everybody has their own. My problem with the impact assessment or the impact tracking is that everybody has their own formula for tracking and figuring out like how many jobs were created. And I don't know how many formulas I've seen, and everybody has their different way of figuring out how many jobs it created and whether or not it was our loan, this institution's loan that actually resulted in that, or was it a combination of things that they increased their wealth because they borrowed from their friend as well in addition to us, and the combination helped them? So where does it end? And it's so arbitrary. And I worked, maybe there's aid people in the audience, US aid people, but you got to love them. But on the other side, it was always this sort of reaching for figures that were really hard sometimes to grasp. I mean, how many jobs do you really create? And how many second jobs do you create? And how much is that a result of what you do? We all track these things. We all report to the microfinance reporting requirements, the MRR as I used to call it. We all send our figures in, and but to me, it doesn't mean a lot. And that's why I said before, I think we need to do a better job. I don't have all the answers. I know that there's been great progress made recently, and I think people are aware of the need to do that, sort of figure out what we can do as an industry to try and clarify how we calculate what we calculate, and so we're all looking at apples and apples and not apples and oranges and bananas. So I think everybody does it because they have to do it. How many women, how many men, how many urban, how many rural, how many new jobs created, how many new education, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. But I take it with a grain of salt, all the information that I see, because I'm really not sure about the accuracy or validity of it.
No, just let me interrupt this. One important question. How many shops would have been closed if they didn't have the financial support? And this is one of the things that actually, I think that 30% of our clients, if they didn't have the financial support, they have withdrawn from the market. So it's not even about creating jobs, about maintaining.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'll just close on this by saying that, look, I would agree with my colleagues, and it's going to be an answer that you're not going to like to hear, but I don't see the usefulness today of impact studies. Now, let me say, by way of background, my PhD was in impact analysis of SKS. So we have data, and I've read all of the data out there, and it seems to me that there's a preponderance of evidence that there is an impact, however you calculate it, whether it's the impact or the counterfactual. If you had done something else with that money, would there be a greater impact or not? But the reason why I'm coming down to saying it's less important for us today is if I'm trying to get public funding, social investors, absolutely it is my obligation to show that there's an impact. If I'm getting commercial funding, my obligation is not to show that an impact, but my obligation is to grow a business. And if that business incidentally happens to help poor women, which I think it does, that's great. So as long as there's no public funding in there, I wouldn't, and we don't necessarily invest time in impact studies. Having said that, anybody who wants to come down, we've got today MIT Poverty Labs is doing an assessment of our health insurance. NYU, Jonathan Murdoch's team is out there doing some studies, and we welcome all sorts of PhDs, but we've resolved the question that without any public funding, zero public funding, you can do something that has a development impact here, and that's the larger trajectory of where we're going. However, anyone that is doing anything with public funding, whether it's seed funding to, let's say, go into sub-Saharan Africa, or the ultra-poor program, which we do on a philanthropic basis, and this is giving people an asset versus giving them a loan, we will do an impact assessment all the way down the line, because that you have to do. It's public funding, and you're justifying a certain public expenditure. But when it comes to commercial microfinance, we would say let's not put the emphasis on impact study in that realm. And it's not what you're going to like.
Clara.
I want to add something.
I'm afraid we're out of time. I don't want to hold you all. All right, 2 seconds.
I wanted to add
2 seconds.
I just wanted to add one comment, because we have actually, we don't have public money, and yet our investors, AIGs and others, do want this double bottom line. They want the social and they want the commercial. And they are actually asking us to do the impact tracking. So that's something you're going to end up having to do.
You can answer 15 minutes.